Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on An Echo in the Bone by Diana Gabaldon. An Echo in the Bone is book 7 in Diana Gabaldon's Outlander series. Jamie and Claire Fraser have now entered the American Revolution. Their adventures span through battlefields to ships at sea, all the way back to Scotland, and they cross paths with familiar historical figures. In the meantime, Roger and Brianna are back in the safety of the 20th century, and they experience the Frasers' trials and tribulations through letters, while not entirely knowing the fate of their family. So, you guys, before I do head into my thoughts and feelings on the latest book in the Outlander series by Diana Gabaldon, just a quick disclaimer, I am definitely going to be getting into spoilers. You have been warned. It's like I said at the top of this synopsis, this is book 7 in the series at this point. It's reached the point that I can't sit and do non-spoiler videos with these books, you know what I mean? It's just easier for me to talk about them and have spoilers, because I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you have most likely made it to this point in the series, and you're much more interested in hearing about my spoilery thoughts, you know, rather than just a general review. So yeah, if you are still here and you have not read this book, spoilers, you have been warned. And I keep saying this is like a review. This is probably not really going to be so much a review as it's going to be more of a reaction video. This is going to be a lot of me going, oh my god, did you see this? Did you see that? What did she do? Why did they do that? So yeah, this is going to be kind of more almost like a reaction review more than anything, and me just kind of going through some of the highs and lows, things I liked, things I didn't, things that I'm still shocked about, you guys. Whew, we'll get there. You know, I seriously can't believe this is book 7. I mean, I did. I started this series, what, 7 years ago? I think I started this series like 7 years ago, which, oh my god, it sounds so old when I think about it that way, because I've been reading like a book a year. That's how I've been consuming this series, a book a year, because it helps me keep things in my head better, and then especially with the TV show, that's kind of rejogging my memory with things as well. I can't believe we've made it to book 7 with this series, just all the things the Fraser clan has gotten up to and gone through, and finally, we have made it to the freaking American Revolutionary War. Thank God. I feel like we have been hearing about this war for like several books now, and it's finally here. Thank God. Because I felt like Diana Gabaldon was kind of like just dragging out the process. It's like, just get to the American Revolutionary War, woman, come on. I definitely have some 50-50 feelings about this book. For the most part, I definitely still enjoyed it. I don't think I'm ever not going to enjoy these books. I still definitely enjoyed it. I still love these characters. I still love this world. I especially love Diana Gabaldon's research. Her research is just so meticulous, you guys, and I absolutely appreciate that, because you can tell, you know, you can tell she has a passion and a love for history, and she really wants to make sure she has things right, or at least as close to right as possible, you know? I mean, just the stupidest of things, you know, the most mundane of things. It's like she will go into that research and make sure it's correct, you know? Like, even like certain word choices, you know, like what would have been the correct wording of something, you know, instead of how we might word a certain word nowadays, they would have kind of worded it a little differently during this time period or something, you know, like even just that, you know, just certain language choices, patterns of speech, just anything, you know. I love that meticulous research, because it really just gets you into this place, you know, and you never feel like something's out of place, you know. Now, my primary issue with this installment in the series, why is it so huge? Seriously, I mean, when I first picked up the book and was going through it, I was like, ooh, we have almost 800 pages of goodness here, you know, but then, like, as I'm sitting there reading it, it's like, oh my god, I feel like this is dragging. There were definitely points in this novel that I felt like things were dragging, and it's like, okay, why are we taking so long on like this one thing or something, you know? This is why I really enjoy the TV show. The TV show, in my opinion, I think is a really great adaptation of these books, because the show really knows how to kind of focus in on what it needs to focus on, and it knows how to sit and condense what's important, or even sometimes rearrange the important things, to kind of rearrange them in such a way that maybe there's a better flow or consistency to it, if that makes sense. So that's what I really love about the show, that the seasons are kind of condensed versions of these books that I kind of find much better focused and like really tightened down into something a little bit more cohesive, if that makes sense. Because yeah, reading these books, as much as I love reading these books, they just sit and drag on and on and on sometimes. And I'll sit and think, okay, this could have been cut right here. If I was the editor, I would have cut this, I would have cut that, I would have cut that. I maybe would have rearranged some, because sometimes there's scenes and it's like, what was the point of this particular scene? What was the point of this particular character? There's just a lot, you know, sometimes there's just a lot and there's too much, and I really wish these books would be tightened down a tad bit more. Like I said, as much as I love them, sometimes they can feel their length. And what's also frustrating, I think probably the last 50 pages of this book are probably the most intense, the most action-packed. The last 50 pages, there's so much going on, and considering that Diana Gabaldon takes her good sweet time with the narrative, all of a sudden we get to the last 50 pages, and to me it feels like Diana Gabaldon's like, oh my god, thank god, I'm almost done with this book, I'm just going to write it out as fast as possible. Because a lot of the stuff going on in this last 50 pages, I'll get to some of my thoughts and feelings on a lot of that, a lot of the things going on are just moving way too quickly, and a lot of it ends very abruptly, and it's like, wait, what? And it does a lot of what happens at the end of this is cliffhanger material, which kind of blew my mind. I was like, why is it ending in a cliffhanger? You know? So I was also just really highly frustrated with that, because Diana Gabaldon does, she spends so much time just really focusing on the littlest of things and really diving into plot and characters, and then we get to the really good juicy stuff, you know, and all of a sudden it's like bam bam bam, we're flying through the pages, and it's like, wait, hold up, I need a little bit more kind of in between here, how we kind of get to this point. So my initial thoughts about the book out of the way, the rest of this review is pretty much me just gonna go, I'm just gonna be going through random stuff. Yeah, guys, I'm just going to be going through random stuff. It's really just going to be reaction material from me, not really much of anything I'm reviewing, to be quite honest. So yeah, first up, let's start with just the most random of things, Rollo. You guys, we got to talk about Rollo, Ian's dog Rollo. Oh my god, Diana Gabaldon, please stop. Stop about giving me a heart attack. How many times did Rollo about die in this book, you guys? I kind of lost track at a certain point. He was severely injured multiple times. I thought for sure he was a goner at the end of this book when Mr. Bug came back. Diana Gabaldon, please, I'm asking a favor of you. Please don't hurt Rollo. I will be very upset. I mean, I know he's an old dog, but can we just make him immortal? You know what I'm saying? Just make the dog immortal for my benefit, so I can be happy and Ian could be happy. You know, I love the fact that Ian, he has just all sorts of women troubles, you know, woe is me, poor Ian. But, you know, you get the idea that Ian, he loves nothing more than his dog Rollo. You know, a boy and his dog, what's better? He's happiest with his dog. He don't need no woman, you guys. Let's move on to Roger and Brianna really quickly. You know, it was so bizarre initially to me with Roger and Brianna entering the 1980s. I was like, wait, what? You know, because it's just so weird to think about, because this series started in the 1940s, correct? Right at the very end of the 1940s, and then we kind of move into like the 50s and 60s, and then yeah, Roger and Brianna, because I go back through the Stones with Jim and Mandy, yeah, all of a sudden here they are in the 1980s, and it was so bizarre to me because I almost couldn't comprehend that. I was like, wait, is that correct? But once I kind of started doing the eternal or the internal math in my head, I was like, yeah, I guess I would be correct. It would be the 1980s, wouldn't it? Good God. So yeah, Roger and Brianna have come back through the stones with Jim and Mandy, because Mandy had that heart defect, I guess is what it was. I really liked all the stuff with Roger and Brianna, and it was also kind of strange too, because for the past several books, Roger and Brianna have been pretty core characters right alongside Jamie and Claire, and so it was kind of weird to see the two of them kind of push back to supporting characters in some ways. They still have a very important storyline and narrative going on in this that I feel is going to have more repercussions kind of later on down the series, I'm almost guessing. What I really liked about the Roger and Brianna story too, because I mean, they've gone through things, they know that time travel through those stones is a thing. They have all this knowledge, and they have spent quite a little lengthy amount of time in the past, and I think it's a thing of, well, how do we come out of that? How do we get ourselves back into our current timeline that we're supposed to be part of, can they do that? How do they get their children to adjust to that? And yeah, Bree especially, she had to leave behind her mom and dad, and it's really sad, and kind of this knowledge that she has, like, I'm probably never going to see them again, and it's really upsetting and sad, and you can kind of understand where she's coming from with that. And the only thing that they have in as far as like communication goes with Jamie and Claire, because I guess they set up this whole system like, okay, we're going to have some letters, we're going to hide these letters, and you just have to find the letters, and you can read them whenever. So yeah, they have like this chest of letters, and periodically Roger and Bree will go through the letters and read them, and kind of almost get like this live update, if you will, of what's going on with Jamie and Claire. But yeah, the thing is, each time they read a letter, they don't know if it's going to be a good letter, is it going to be a bad letter, are they going to get bad news that someone died, because technically, like I said, they're in the 1980s, technically Jamie and Claire are dead, they're technically dead. Even though in the context of kind of while you're reading this book, it's like the narratives are going parallel with one another, just that's the nature of time travel. Time is kind of linear with one another. But yeah, to Roger and Brianna, technically they would be dead. So it is. It's really sad in some ways, the Roger and Brianna story. And what I also like about the Roger and Brianna story, like I said, they're trying to get readjusted to what is their actual life. And Bree, she wants to be a career woman. She doesn't want to be stuck at home. She loves her family. Obviously, she loves her children, but she doesn't want to be stuck at home. She's a very smart, capable, intelligent woman, and she, because she has like that engineering degree, right? Something like that. So yeah, she gets a really good job, and all her coworkers are men, and she feels like she's proven her worth, and she feels valuable. But Roger, in the meantime, Roger is still struggling with like his position and what he should do with his life. What is his purpose? And back in the 1700s or whatever, it's like, I think he felt like his purpose, his calling was towards religion, and he was kind of doing some of those sermons out on Fraser's Ridge and whatnot, and it's like he felt like he had purpose there and a function, and now it's kind of like, well, what do I do? And I really liked Roger's story in this too. There's kind of this gender reversal almost, with Bree being the one going out and making the money, and Roger being the one kind of stuck at home temporarily. But I like where Roger's story went ultimately, because because he can speak Gaelic and whatnot, and there's kind of this appreciation amongst the community, like, hey, the young people are forgetting how to speak Gaelic and whatnot, and hey, it, why don't you teach our younger people, or even our older people who maybe it's kind of slipped by in years, So yeah, Roger is kind of starting to get his purpose and function, so it'd be nice to see where Roger goes from here. And yeah, the big cliffhanger situation of this book, you guys, that dude Rob Cameron, I knew there was something up with him. I should have known it. That dude Rob Cameron, he kidnaps Jim. Why? Where are they going? Did they go through the stones? I kind of got a little confused about that. Did they go through the stones? I guess they did. Why does Rob want Jim? We know there was that letter that mentioned like the gold or whatever, and that Jim knows where Jamie hid it. So I don't know if whatever Rob Cameron is up to, if it has to do with the gold, or does it have to do with something else? Is it sinister or is it not? Is Diana Gabaldon misleading us? You know, I do. I have so many questions, and I can't wait to get to the next book because I need the answers. So yeah, I just want to know. I just want to know: is Rob Cameron a good guy? Is he a bad guy? What's up with that? And you guys, let's talk about what was his name? William Buckley, right? Was that his name? The dude that hung Roger, you know, back in what book? The previous book, wasn't it? Wasn't it, I guess, book 6? What's that? Oh my God, he just happened to come through the stones too. You know, it's reached a point with these Diana Gabaldon books, you gotta roll with it. You know, you gotta roll with it. Just all of the contrivances and conveniences and coincidences. Seriously, that was just really bizarre to me. Buckley just kind of randomly coming out of nowhere. It's like, really? Seriously, Diana Gabaldon? Once again, you gotta roll with it. Moving on, the Hunters, Rachel and Denzel. Speaking of Denzel, I saw that his name was Denzel Hunter, and I had a little bit of a giggle because, you know, my first immediate thought was, oh, like Denzel Washington. I didn't know there was any other Denzel other than Denzel Washington, you guys. Well, now I know there's a Denzel Hunter. I digress. So yeah, the Hunters, Rachel and Denzel. I love them. They're Quakers. They believe strongly in their faith, and they feel like they have like a divine purpose or whatever, you know. Rachel is just a dutiful sister. She follows her brother everywhere. Denzel, he's a surgeon. Of course, him being a surgeon, Claire being a surgeon as well. Of course, you know their paths are going to just randomly cross at some point. It's an Outlander book. Everybody just happens to meet all over the place. The Hunters were great. I love them. I love the way they spoke. You know, their Quaker plain speech or whatever. They're always going something, that, you know, using the word the. And I loved Dottie, John Gray's his niece, right? I loved Dottie because she kind of has a soft spot for Denzel, and then she's wanted to marry him, and she's trying to use their speech pattern, obviously, and she's sitting there saying the, and every time she messes up, and she's like, she's like, the. I love the Hunters. They were great. It's like they're the anti-Malva and Alan Christie, you know? It's just weird that there's another brother-sister pairing, because, yeah, the previous book, we had Malva and Alan Christie, and they were like, you know, really nefarious and sinister. And yeah, the Hunters are kind of like the polar opposite, unless something crazy happens in some of the next books that I'm not aware of. But I love the Hunters. They were great. Of course, there's like love triangles everywhere, because yeah, we have Rachel and Denzel, young Ian, and Willie, and Dottie. It's like there's what was that, like 5 people? Am I miscounting? I can't count all of a sudden. There's like a love cube going on here, you guys. There's so many people involved in this crazy romance. We have some more sea battles at the start of this book. Okay, not gonna lie, you guys, the start of this book, I got a little bored, and I can't quite really remember exactly what was going on during some of these sea battles, because Jamie and Claire were just hopping around on ship after ship, and I was getting confused, like, okay, wait, who are these? Americans? Are these British? Are these pirates? I seriously got a little confused and overwhelmed initially with all of that stuff at the beginning of this novel going on at sea, because initially what happened was it the British Navy? They were coming to like press the crew on the ship that Jamie and Claire were on, correct? Because that was like a big thing. The big thing in the British Navy is just, you know, hijacking ships and be like, hey, we're going to press you into military service or whatever, you know. So I think that's what was happening, because I think they were trying to get like Jamie and Ian into the military or the Navy or something. I don't know. Like I said, there was a lot going on, and just hopping around on ship after ship, and I couldn't keep track of who was what, which captain went with what. I honestly zoned out a couple different times because I was getting so confused. Once again, we have Rollo in peril, you guys. He was on one of the ships. Ian was like, oh my God, I gotta go save my damn dog. And I loved Claire's reaction, because she was like, we have to go save this dog. So, yeah, the reason Jamie and Claire were even at sea to begin with, because I think they were supposed to be trying to get to Scotland, right? They were initially supposed to be getting to Scotland, but that gets delayed. We don't even get to Scotland until later. So that moves me into my next thing I want to talk about. We do finally get to Scotland, you guys, like kind of near the end of this book. You know, it was so nice to revisit Scotland because we've not been back to Scotland for like forever. It was nice to be back in that world and that environment because it has such a vastly different look and environment to it compared to, you know, the Frasers and, you know, at Fraser's Ridge in North Carolina and whatnot. Just a completely different vibe and atmosphere. It was really nice to see Ian and Jenny again. And yeah, we get Ian dying, you guys. Ian dies. I was glad that Jamie and young Ian at least got to say proper goodbyes, you know. And then yeah, Jenny in the meantime, she's gonna go back to America with Jamie. How's that gonna go? How's Jenny gonna function? You know, is she gonna like it? I can't wait to see Jenny in America because that should be pretty brilliant and pretty genius. Because I mean, she's a woman and she's been married for a good chunk of her life, and she's always had all of her children. And I think it's gonna be interesting seeing her in this kind of new environment. And she doesn't have a husband. All of her children are grown, and she's gonna have this newfound freedom in some ways. Is she going to take advantage of that, or is it going to be something kind of foreign to her that she's going to have a hard time kind of coping with and managing? So that'd be fun, I think, with Jenny. And then even kind of going back to Scotland once again, even Leary. I'm glad we got to see Leary again. I'm wondering if this is going to be it for Leary. You know, if we've seen Leary for the last time, because it felt kind of conclusive. Like her and Jamie kind of resolved a few things. It felt like. So I mean, even Leary, is annoying and irritating as Leary is, I really enjoyed seeing Leary again and kind of getting some sort of a conclusion there, a catharsis, I suppose. Moving on to Willie, Jamie's illegitimate child. You know, I do like Willie. I don't have a thing against Willie. I definitely do like him. But boy, oh boy, his chapters, they dragged and they were a little boring. Willie's chapters did not pick up until when he finally ran into the hunters, you know, when he finally ran into the hunters, and then when they like ran into those, what were they, you guys? I was still a little confused about that. Cannibals? Was that man and woman cannibals? Because Rachel kept looking at the soup and she kept saying, guys, do you know what was in that soup? And then Willie and Denzel were like, we don't want to know. We ate it. And then they had like diarrhea later, you know? So I don't know what to make of the people, those crazy people that the hunters and Willie ran into, because were they cannibals or was there something else going on? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, Willie's chunk of the story picked up there once he met the hunters, once they ran into whatever those crazy people were. And then I think after that, then it kind of, his story kind of slowed down again for me. I just don't understand why Willie had so much page time in this book, because once again, I think a lot of the stuff going on with him is stuff that I would have personally edited out and condensed a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, that being said, I mean, I like Willie as a character, and I like the role and function he serves and what he means to Jamie and Lord John Grey and whatnot. I'm definitely curious to see where Willie's story is going in the remainder of the books. Um, because now he knows, he kind of figured that out just kind of randomly. He's like, oh, Jamie's my dad. You know, because I think he's always known Lord John is not his biological father. So yeah, I'm definitely curious where Willie's story is going and who is he going to end up with. Because initially he was in love with Dottie, and then all of a sudden he switched over to Rachel. But yeah, it's like Ian has something for Rachel too. Once again, this crazy love cube or whatever, it's crazy. Moving on to Lord John Grey, you guys. I love Lord John Grey. He is seriously one of my favorite secondary supporting characters in the entire franchise, if you will. I know a lot of people feel otherwise. I don't know why. Why do people hate Lord John Grey? I seriously freaking love him. I tell you what, last year I got around to reading the Lord John Grey spin-off books, and I'm glad that I did, because there was actually things that were mentioned from that series that was kind of brought up in here, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I read that. Because a big character that returns into Lord John's life is the character of Percy. Percy he was in like book 2, if I'm not mistaken. He was in like book 2 of the Lord John Grey series, and he was like, you know, a lover of Lord John's, and some things went down. They got separated, and I think Lord John has been thinking he's been dead this entire time. And yeah, here comes Percy back into Lord John's life in a big, huge way, and Percy kind of is coming across as a bit of a villain. I'm getting villain vibes from him. And you guys, this is where a lot of stuff kind of went a little nuts for me, especially with the Percy character, because I was having trouble kind of comprehending. I'm not sure if I understood everything entirely. Percy apparently is looking for Fergus, of all people. Fergus apparently has some sort of great lineage, and it goes back possibly to the French guy from Dragonfly and Amber, the Comte Saint Germain, the Comte Saint Germain. I think I'm butchering his pronunciation. And you know, we were led to believe that he died. But then when I was, because I also read the novella collection last year as well, the Seven Stones to Stand or Fall. I read that collection as well, and there was a story involving Joan, the daughter of Leary, and Michael, the son of Jenny. There was like a little short story involving Joan and Michael, and they went to France, and like I think there was some stuff going on, and we got the idea that the Comte Saint Germain, he is alive, maybe, I don't know. So once again, I really liked a lot of the stuff going on with Lord John Grey, but a lot of it did feel like it was setup material for important things to come in future books more than anything. So I like seeing the return of Percy, how that kind of affected Lord John, and yeah, are we finally going to get some more with Fergus? Because Fergus was kind of barely even in this book. There was just kind of a little bit with Fergus. Yeah, is he related to Saint Germain from Dragonfly and Amber? You guys, I'm still a little iffy and confused about that. If someone can clarify that for me, please do. Okay, let's move into some of the ending material here. Everybody thinks Jamie dies. You guys. Jamie and Claire, they get split up because Claire gets that letter from Marcelly saying, hey, Andre Christian, I guess his tonsils are messed up. He's having trouble breathing. We need you back in America to come do surgery on him. So Claire heads off to America separately while Jamie stays in Scotland, you know, while Ian is dying and whatnot. So they get separated, and of course there's a lot of miscommunication that happens because the ship that Jamie is supposed to get on leaves before Jamie and Jenny get on it, so he ends up getting on another ship. So of course Lord John Grey, he thinks the ship that Jamie was initially supposed to get on, he learns that it sinks and that everyone died. So there's a lot of miscommunication here and misunderstanding. So Lord John, he gets the news that the ship sunk, Jamie's dead, and once again, there was a lot in this book that was really just so fast and speedy, and Diana Gabaldon usually takes her good time setting stuff up, and all of a sudden we get this notion that Claire has been doing a little bit of spying and like passing notes between rebel units like back and forth, and like it just kind of just randomly started within like that page all of a sudden, which was kind of strange. And she gets in a little bit of trouble, and Lord John is like, okay, she's the wife of the man that I like. I'm going to protect her. I don't want to see her die. So he's like, hey, Claire, I can protect you and your family. Let's, you know, get married. And there's not even like much lead up to any of that, you guys, which was kind of frustrating. And yet Claire doesn't even really give it much thought. She's like, okay, let's get married, you know, and we don't even really get much of her even grieving for the death of Jamie, considering that this is the man that she has gone through hell and back, you know, through the stones and everything to be with, and she's just like, okay, I'll marry you, Lord John. I mean, I did like their scenes together. Whenever Claire and Lord John have scenes together, I always love them. They're always so well written because this is two people who both love Jamie equally. But yeah, Lord John, him being a gay man, his feelings for Jamie are definitely unrequited, and he can't be his true self, obviously. And yeah, Jamie obviously loves Claire, prefers Claire. He prefers the company of women. So I really like their scenes, and yeah, you have you have Lord John and Claire, who are both grieving in their own way for Jamie, and they just sit there casually talking, and the next thing that happens, all of a sudden they have sex with one another. Oh my god, I was not expecting that. I was like, wow. I got it though, I understood it, because at first I was like, oh, this would not happen, but I was like, well, this is Outlander. These two characters, they both love Jamie. It's like, it's nothing really personal between them. It all has to do with Jamie, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, the miscommunication, obviously Jamie comes back, and Lord John is like, oh my god, I married your wife. Not only that, I had sex with your wife. And I love Jamie's reaction, because how is it worded? He goes, oh, why? And that's how it ends. It ends kind of right there as a cliffhanger with Jamie's reaction. So, I mean, surely this is not going to be an issue. Surely Jamie's not going to take this personally, like, oh my god, why did you marry and sleep with my wife, Lord John is not a threat. The only threat Lord John poses is his relationship with Willie, because Willie obviously sees Lord John as his father. That is who he has spent his life with. So that's really the only threat Lord John poses right there. He poses absolutely no threat when it comes to Claire. That there's not going to be anything there. So, I mean, surely the marriage is not valid. They can get a divorce, hopefully. So I guess we'll see how that goes. Seriously, that was the most shocking thing that happened in this book, was the marriage between Lord John and Claire. I was like, oh my god, but it was so good though. And I'll end here really quickly. Battle sequences, this is the American Revolutionary War. We do have quite a number of battle sequences that go on. I am not particularly someone who enjoys battle sequences. A lot of times they kind of just feel really repetitive to me, and a lot of times I'm not quite sure what's going on, especially when military lingo is used and locations, whatever. I'm just not into battle sequences, to be quite honest. Like, I love watching battle sequences, like if I'm watching Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or something like that, or even on Outlander when there's battle sequences. I love watching battle sequences because I'm someone that I need like a visual of things like that. But yeah, when someone's writing about battles, it's very dreadfully boring to me, you guys, and I have a hard time comprehending and following what's going on. So yeah, kind of similar to like the sea battles that were happening at the start of the book. A lot of the battles that are happening throughout the remainder of the book, I found myself kind of zoning out and getting a little overwhelmed and a little confused with. Yeah, a little bored, to be quite honest. But I mean, it's at these sequences that we do get to see like historical figures, because yeah, Claire, I love when Claire meets real historical people, because she acts like they're a celebrity and she gets starstruck essentially. Yeah, because she gets to meet Benedict Arnold, which was hilarious. I loved her meeting Benedict Arnold. Then later she even meets Major John Andre really quickly. I loved that quick little cameo. So yeah. The battle sequences, a little flat for me personally. I can't wait to see how they're adapted on the show, because I have a feeling on the show they're going to be immense and they're going to be really awesome. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on An Echo in the Bone. If you've made it through this really long review, all the applause for you. I'm sorry that it's really long. Like I said, a lot of this was really just me having a reaction to stuff that I just wanted to kind of express and get out there and kind of just really have a conversation, if you will. And yeah, I'd appreciate it if you guys, if you wanted to continue that conversation with me. If you've read this book, feel free to continue the conversation with me. Things that you loved about this book, things that you hated. What are you looking forward to? Like for the season of the show that's going to be adapting this particular book. So yeah, you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on An Echo in the Bone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.